Salakia, this damn dog. But nonetheless, it says, you know, you shall eat the flesh of your sons and your daughters. That was a prophecy, but it's also a curse. You go in the book of Leviticus, chapter 17. Sit down, 17 and verse 10, and it reads. This is Leviticus 17 and verse 10. Eating of blood forbidden. You know, because the scriptures talk about how the life is in the blood, roughly paraphrased. It says, and whatsoever man there be of the house of Israel or of the strangers that sojourn among you that eat of any manner of blood, I will even set my face against that soul that eat of blood and will cut him off from among his people. For the life of the flesh, that's the spirit. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement of your souls, for it is the blood that maketh atonement for the soul. And that, you know, when you go in the book of Numbers chapter 35, and the point is verse 33. This is Numbers 35 and verse 33, and it reads, so ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood is defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood is shed. So like it, of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. So basically, you know, this place was defiled because, you know, the so-called Native Americans, who are the tribes of Gad, Reuben, you know, basically they were here, and basically Esau came and basically defiled the land by the shedding of blood of Gad and, you know, Judah, you know, and at the end of the day, because so much blood was spilled here, the only way to cleanse this land is by the blood of those that spilled it. So that's why we know through the prophecies that literally, you know, it's going to be, you know, nation against nation, and it's going to be a lot of bloodletting. So I'll bring a little bit of this out about this human meat project, because at the end of the day, again, people will say this probably is far-fetched, but the scriptures go into these things would be happening, and the way Esau moved, you know what I mean? I can see this being real. It says human meat project, or so like a human meat project, people for people. It says human meat as food source, the practice of cannibalism. And just look at how they set the stage for everything. Like literally, cannibalism is mentioned in the scriptures. And then it's Edomite, basically, you know, with the, I mean, when you go into the hills have eyes, those Edomites were cannibals. You know what I mean? It says the practice of cannibalism is not uncommon in living beings. In both the animal kingdom and our human history, the consumption of one's own species has existed, which is abominable. It's abomination. During the discovery of the New World, Christopher Columbus brought back what could be seen as early evidence of cannibalistic practices in modern civilization. But when you go into the history, they'll try to make it seem like, you know, Gad was basically the cannibals, or basically the savages, when in actuality it was Esau. You know, sit down, Salakia. It says the word cannibal comes from the name of. So like the word cannibal comes from the name the Spanish gave to the Caribbeans, cannibals. The Spanish accused the Caribbean tribes of ritualistic consuming their enemies. But modern day scholars have doubts that it actually happened. You know what I'm saying? Now you got to remember, without Christopher Columbus and you know, the natives basically showing these Spaniards, which are the Edomites, how to survive, you know, literally, you know, they wouldn't have been able to survive. You know, they actually, you know, Gad actually knew how to live off the land. It was Esau, Edom that didn't. You know, when you go into the pilgrims and whatnot, you know, they basically had to show them how to live off the land, because they, you know, are, you know, one of the 12 tribes of Israel, you know, and, you know, it's land Sabbaths, and it was way that the Most High, you know, the scriptures go into how to cultivate the land. You know, they would farm on part of the land, and then after, you know, so much time of farming on the land, because they basically depleted the soil, they'd burn that part of the land so it could replenish itself and move on to another part of the land. It's this devil, this red Hebrew Edomite, Esau Edom, that doesn't know how to actually sustain the land. That's why, you know what I mean, you know, the earth is not yielding its strength anymore. Stop. It says the word cannibal was used as a derogatory term to describe, stop, tribal. The word cannibal was used as a derogatory term to describe tribal and native people, and became an indirect ethnic slur. The human meat donation mission and vision. Because why would they be able to have a whole bunch of meat to use for food for people? Because it's about to be a lot of people dying. You know what I mean? We living in new times. Brothers doing these videos talking about the disease X, and how Bill Gates, Hale made that statement about how basically this second wave is going to be worse than the first one. It's going to make the first one look like a walk in the park. It says, in order to save the planet from the impact of our modern civilization and lifestyle, we have to make a change in our lives. So like a change in our ideas about consumption and our dietary choices. We face climate change due to waste, pollution, deforestation, and overpopulation problems. And that shows you that this is feasible in Esau Edom's mind. This is not made up. You know what I mean? Because these are the problems that they're trying to basically put on the forefront now. They're trying to say, well, this because of this, it's because of that. That's why we have to do all these different things, Basically, that's why they want to come with the 15-minute cities, because they're saying that people are creating too much pollution. But yet still, these devils that are behind the scenes that rule the world, they feel that they'll be able to move freely. I remember when Obama basically, he wasn't in office anymore, but I remember during the lockdown, they was talking about how Obama literally was seeing golfing by himself. This is the mindset that these fucking devils got, You had these different senators that basically would pushing these draconian laws about how people had to be locked down or whatnot, but then they would be out eating and dining, fine dining. I think that governor in California, Newsom, was one that kept on going, basically being put under fire because of the fact his policies they contradicted what he was actually doing. By donating your body for human consumption, you are taking direct action to help others and lessen the damage of the industrial age. But who's damaging the planet and the age? These devils. You know what I mean? These devils created and used these fossil fuels when you had technology that could have been used off of electricity, or you've had engines that run off of water and oil, like vegetable oil, cooking oil. You think they utilized that? No, because it was big money in petroleum. When basically fossil fuels and the petroleum is used for the lifeblood of the planet. It says, by consuming human meat, we can create a change in both our lives and the world. By improving the standard quality of life in every country and nation, we can give everyone in the world a good life. But how? The scriptures always talk about. Even Yahushua said. He said basically that you'll always have the poor, but you won't always have me, roughly paraphrased. So you really think everybody's gonna have a good life when they taking away freedoms now? I'm gonna get one more subcategory just to show you how this is not far-fetched and this is plausible because of the fact they actually got statistics. It says human meat nutrition facts. One body can feed up to 40 people. An average adult male, 65 kilograms only meat. Human meat often understated for its nutrition. Human meat protein and fat density could have the same or better than other convenient meat products like beef, chicken, and pork. As omnivore, human meat taste and texture is similar to pork, not to mention the quality could be more substantial depending on the quality of life ratings. One body contains every essential amino, minerals, and vitamins needed for daily intake. Not only one body could feed up to 40 people, it also the most attainable resource for meat and fat consumption. So again, this isn't really far-fetched. And then the times we coming in, like again, you got these different food processing plants basically being burnt down. You got this inflation kicking in where people can't afford, and there's a reason why they're pushing the whole eating insects. When you go to the movies like the brothers bring out, like Snowpiercer, and I didn't realize that until I actually was in the truth. I seen the movie before I came in the truth, but I didn't realize, that show you how spiritual it was, but I didn't realize, like, in that movie, I think it was the elder Malcolm, I forgot who made mention of it, but like those bars that they were eating were basically roach bars. So, roaches are a form of protein just like crickets are. They're bugs, but crickets and certain insects are actually lawful to eat, but roaches aren't. Then doing further research, you found out about the roach basically roach cities and roach villages. Like I know Moab in China basically got these, they call them roach farms, where they got these huge, like places where they basically, all they do is farm roaches. And they basically said that they could be used for a source of protein. Stop! So basically, and then when you go into, like I said again, it's different prophecies that talk about how it's going to be a lack of food. You go in the book of Second Ezra, chapter 15, it talks about how it's going to be great violence because of the fact that this is Second Ezra, chapter 15, and verse 19. It says, "A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword." So basically, people are going to uprise, and basically people are going to take from each other. The strong going to pay on the weak because it's going to be a lack of bread. It says, "But shall destroy their houses with the sword." So they're not going to pity a woman, children, because they're going to want to eat. It says, "And spoil their goods," meaning take their goods, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So because of the lack of food, people are going to take, they're going to prey on the weak. There's going to be a lot of violence and a lot of bloodshedding. It says verse. What is this? Amos 4. This is Amos chapter 4 and verse. I'm gonna start at verse. I'm gonna start at verse 6 because this is the point. Because it's going into a famine. Amos 4 and verse 6, and it says, "And I also have given you cleanness of teeth in all your cities." So basically, cleanness of teeth because they're not gonna be able to eat because it's gonna be a lack of food. "And want of bread in all your places, yet have ye not returned unto me, saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua." Because one of the ways that the Lord was going to punish Israel is by a lack of food. When you go into that, what's that? Just read it. I think it was in. I think it's this one. Well, Second Ezra 15. It talks about It's the book of Second Ezra, chapter 15. And this verse 5. It says, "Behold, saith the Lord Yahweh." It says, "Behold, saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction." So when you read the scriptures, you'll notice that the Lord is pretty much repetitive. By being under the tutelage of the elder apostles, I remember the elder apostle Tahar making a statement. You read these different scriptures, and you hear about certain judgments, but in actuality, it's not multiple judgments. It's one judgment. You know what I mean? You know, you know, you know, the end is mentioned in different books or whatnot, but they're mentioned in different books, and they may sound different, but they're all one event. Roughly paraphrased, but so it says, "Behold, saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction." And it tends to be in that order. I know it's mentioned like that in Revelations as well. So famine is one of the plagues the Lord is going to use to visit the world which he made. Back in Amos chapter 4 and verse 7. "Yet have ye not returned unto me, saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua." So basically cleanliness of teeth and want of bread. So the Lord gonna call a famine, and he has caused famines multiple times in order to punish Israel. But everybody's gonna get punished and caught up in this because the food is gonna be so scarce. When you go in the book of Genesis, you hear about Joseph and the lack of bread, amongst the peoples. In the New Testament, that's in the Old, in the book of Genesis, but in the book of Acts, it talks about a famine. It's silly dog. Verse 7. "And also I have withholden the rain from you when there were yet 3 months to the harvest, and I caused it to rain upon one city and caused it not to rain upon another city. One piece was rained upon, and the piece whereupon it rained not withered." So, if the Lord controls the weather, the lack of rain causes droughts and the lack of food. You see that in California all the time. You got the wildfires, you got the lack of rain, so the crops die. That's what you got to understand. Usually the crops for a certain season, like for instance, last year's crop is what we're feeding off today. So if they're having trouble growing, or they was talking about how it was an issue with the fertilizers, and it's all set up, ultimately by Yahweh Shem Yahushua. When you go into the book of Second Kings about with Elijah, where basically the Lord was dealing with Elijah to the point where he spoke a word and basically it stopped it from raining. The Lord withheld the rain, and then the Lord basically allowed him to speak a word and brought the rain again, after basically he basically did that duel with Jezebel and the prophets of Baal. You know, because basically the Lord basically will manifest and show his power through individuals. You know what I mean? You know, and that's the power and coldness of the Yahweh Shem Shai. You know, so yeah, with the times coming, you know, scriptures talk about famine is one of the worst deaths to die by. Go in the book of Lamentations, chapter 4, and point is verse 9, and it reads, "They that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger, for these pine away, stricken through for want of the fruits of the field." So, because basically your body gonna eat itself, so that's a horrible death. Stop. That's a horrible death to, you know, die, because you'll die slowly. You know, to die by the sword is a quicker death, you know. But to watch yourself, you know, watch your children die and starve to death, you know, that's the Lord really not liking you. You know, makes me think about that video with that Jake that basically was put in that room that had all the bed bugs, and basically, you know, because when you take the time to think about, a bed bug sucks on you and whatnot, but you know it drinks your blood. But it, you know, you really, I've never heard of nobody dying from bed bugs. I mean, I remember back in 2012, I know a lot of people I knew knew of, or you know, knew in the neighborhood or whatnot. They literally, you would hear that they had bed bugs. You know what I mean? So that I knew that was a plague then. You know what I mean? You know, a lot of people have some connection to the truth, or something significant happened to them in the world in 2012. And I never, I mean, you know, 2012 is my testimony, you know what I mean? Call Allah Yahweh Yahweh Shem Shah. That's the year when I discovered that the Most High was real, you know, that the world wasn't what we thought it was, you know what I mean? You know, that some people that you might have knew or been related to are demons and devils, you know? So, verse 10, the hands of the pitiful woman have sought in their own children. So when you go to sorting, meaning eating, you know, and it's meant to, you know, people mention eating their children multiple times in the scriptures. You know, 2 Kings is one that pops in mind, 2 Kings chapter 6. So why is this far-fetched when I just read this Human Meat Project? And then look at the times we're coming into and what's going on in the world. You know what I mean? If it was a great death and a lot of people, and then it's a lack of food, you don't think, you know, when you watch the book of Eli, what was they doing? They was eating each other. You know, now you had a lot of people that didn't do it, and that's when they said, they was talking about how the people that basically consume human meat, they had the shakes. That's why when they would go into the bars or go around people, like when they was in the bar, they was like, "Let me see your hands," and Denzel had to show him his hands. And then remember when they went to the old lady and the old guy that lived in the desert, basically they had a shake because they was eating the human food. So that was like a way for you to be able to discern who had been eating the human flesh. Because best believe, if you consuming that shit, you're gonna have a multitude of demons on you. But look at like how many demons is on these people now. Look at these people are void of judgment. They're reprobates. So you know, to show you how far gone this place is, like I said, they could push this. I mean, you know, if shit get bad enough, they could push this, and people would actually adhere to it. People would not buck up to it. Because look at it. I mean, you got people that's visiting, schools and shit, and they're allowing these LBG alphabet people to visit schools and, you know, basically indoctrinate people's children with this shit. Like, you don't think that this place is going to be judged? It's getting judged before your very eyes. Verse 11, the Lord hath accomplished his fury, he hath poured out his fierce anger, and hath kindled a fire in Zion, and it hath devoured the foundations thereof. So this was a past judgment, but we're coming into a future judgment, because when you go in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30, verse 7, it says Jacob's trouble, the time of Jacob's trouble. And basically that's going to be, you know, when the Lord basically judges the house of Israel. You know, we going to know, like the elder Apostle Tahar says, and I wholeheartedly believe this, you're going to know when it's the time of Jacob's trouble. Look at what it's all being, look at how the Lord is manifesting and working. You know, Psalms 119, it's time for the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh to work, because they have made void thy law. You know, this is a recipe of a disaster. You know, the brothers going into, you know, that title, what's that, Title 4, with all them immigrants. You know, you got a crime wave of immigrants. You got criminals that's big. And best believe, you know, they purposely let the borders be open. You know, you got in these different countries like Issachar or Mexico and, and Haiti or Levi, you know, they talking about how basically the criminals is ruling or running the cities. How much more so when America just be wide open? They gonna let that shit go down where these like cities like Chicago and California where you got these large number of gangs, they gonna run the city up until they send in the troops. The book of Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 19. I'm probably gonna end it with this. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 9, starting at verse 19, and it reads, I'm going to start up. This is about Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 16. For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. You know, you got, I ain't going to bring up the fact that these different Israelite groups, you know, going off, you know, and it's spiritual too, because you show how cold the Lord is. I remember coming into the truth and you hearing about, you know, the elders and the men of the great millstone and how to, you know, what they subscribe to. Nobody ever told anybody to go rape a little girl. They told the full matter of the scriptures and how to deal with certain things in the scriptures, but we never condoned any of that. But, you know, our elders and apostles had to basically take that on the chin, you know, because you got to think about it, you know, at the end of the day, like I've heard a brother say, you know, let the Lord absolve you. You know, you had men that basically was accused of things and had to take that on the chin because it was the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. But now those same groups that had so much to say about them, they get caught on camera, literally fighting. You know what I mean? Then you got these demons like Vocab alone just giving him ammunition. If anything, it show you how righteous GMS was, because you got, you know, they even found the footage of basically our elders getting into it with you know, I forgot what group was that, ICJIC or something like that. I just remember the name of the individual that was the head of that camp that called himself the Comforter, that's no longer amongst the living. The Lord basically visited him, you know. But I found that interesting how the Lord, you know, basically, what's the word? Basically, shamed them though, you know. You will hear, you know, because that's the first thing somebody will say is, oh, yeah, GMS and the rape doctrine. It's not a doctrine. It was something that's mentioned in the scriptures. We don't condone, you know, the doctrine is considered your message. We never said, oh, we going out to look for little girls. You know what I mean? Like the fuck? But what is the message y'all pushing? Y'all supposed to be of all the same nation. Y'all might not have the same doctrine, but y'all all the same people. And y'all fight, you know, you got this, this isn't about that. You know, it's just, I found that, you know, how cold the Lord is, you know. The Lord, you know, can exalt you amongst your enemies. You know what I mean? You know, and then the crazy part is to show you how spiritual it is. Yet still, they still trying to link GMS to it. So that's why the elders, you know, the elder Yashawamba and the elder apostle Aramlab making certain videos where, you know, we can't get caught up in what these other camps doing. You know, you may say shalom or shalom, but keep it pushing, because at the end of the day, you know, Slakia, what are you eating? Put that out your mouth. I ain't even pause it. You a silly little dog. Sit down. It says Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 17. Therefore the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua shall have no joy in their young men, neither shall have mercy on their fathers and widows. Salakia. Mercy on their fatherless and widows. For everyone is a hypocrite and an evildoer, and every mouth speaketh folly. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. For wickedness burneth as the fire, it shall devour the briars and thorns, and shall kindle in the thickets of the forest, and they shall mount up like the lifting up of smoke. Verse 19. Through the wrath of the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua of hosts is the land darkened, and the people shall be as the fuel of the fire. No man shall spare his brother. And ye shall snatch on the right hand and be hungry, and ye shall eat on the left hand, and they shall not be satisfied. They shall eat every man the flesh of his own arm. So this is going back into cannibalism. You know what I mean? Manasseh, Ephraim, and Ephraim and Manasseh. And they together shall be against Judah. For all this, his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. So, you know, it's still a point of mercy, though. You know what I mean? Until, you know, the Lord closes the doors of repentance, you know. And these people, half these people don't want repentance. You know, that's why you got a 2/3. But, you know, these people ain't saying shit yet, you know. You know, the scriptures talk about it's going to be wailing and gnashing of teeth. So if you understand what a wail is, you ever experienced or watched a mother lose a child? It's an uncontrollable. It ain't a regular cry. It's a, you know, like some demonic. I've heard a woman, wail. That shit is not. It's kind of like, oh wow, you know what I mean? No, it's gonna catch your attention and gnashing of teeth. You know what I mean? I used to always think that meant something else, but in actuality, it's talking about there's gonna be, these people gonna be weeping, and rightfully so, because this is a wicked ass place. So if you're so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the laws, statutes, and commandments of your power, whose true name in the Hebrew is Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, or you will be destroyed. With that, I want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Kol Loyim, by Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, by Hashem. I'm going to say double honors to my apostles, the elders of the great millstone, teaching do rule well. I say peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing the truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. Say shalom to the Akwath as well as the Akim out there listening and learning. Lord willingly, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, and whom subscribe to this truth. To you, I say shalom. Till next time, I'll come with another lesson. Shalom, shalom, and Mawath Lababal. Shalom. You are so